I'm struggling a little bit. Oh really? What are you struggling with? I've just bought the latest version of Football Manager and I'm a bit confused. Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing when you first start playing the game. You look like an intelligent chap. Any chance of a bit of help? Well, as it happens, I've been playing Football Manager for a good few years now, and I was just thinking of putting together a little tuition video. Oh, that'd be great. I'm sure there's lots of people who bought the game for the first time and would love a tuition video. Okay, well, I suggest you stick around, get yourself a pen and paper, make a few notes. I'm going to try and make it as easy as I possibly can. Well, I'm sure he's not the only one who finds Football Manager a little overwhelming to begin with. So today we're going to have part one of the basics of how to play the game. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, we've clicked to start a new game and we immediately get 5 options. Today we're only going to concentrate on the career mode. We could be here all week if we go through all of them. So if we click on the career mode, and straight away you can select a club of your choice. So today we're going to select a lower league club. So if we come to this tab here, at the moment it's a default club manager, but if you click on that, you can be an international manager, club and international manager, or you can start the game unemployed if you want and look for jobs as they come up. But today we're going to start the game as a club manager. We're going to start in England again, a drop down box. They're all drop down boxes. Every time you click something you get a drop down box and you can select other things. So today we're going to stick with England and we're going to go to the Vanarama North, and we're going to select a club out of the Vanarama North. So let's say we select Curzon Ashton. So you can click quick start if you want to do. I always prefer to go to the advanced setup because that gives you more options. Now if you see this star rating here, this is a 5-star rating, and this basically tells you how your PC is going to process, how quickly it's going to process information and how quickly or slowly the game is going to run. So you don't really want it any lower than about 3 stars. Mine is running at 4 stars with a large database of players. Ideally you'd want it at 5 stars, but you would need to spend a lot of money on a PC to do that. If you're using a PS5, then all these things will be slightly different, but the basis is kind of the same. So if we come over to this left hand side, these are all the leagues that are selected. Because I've already got a save running, a save basically is you do what we're doing now, and then as soon as you save that game with that club, then that's called a save. So you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, in my Newcastle save, or in my Bayern Munich save. It's a save that they've got running that is dealing with either a journeyman progress as a manager or as a one club progress as a manager. So a journeyman save is basically starting with a club in the lower leagues. I have one run at the moment. I'll put a link up to it here if you want to have a quick look at that. It's only just started, so we're in the early days of that. I started with AFC Fylde. We're in the Vanarama North section, and the journeyman basically is, but you could either take that club all the way through to as high as you can get it, or you maybe take that club through to say Sky Bet League 2, and then you might get a job offer because you're doing quite well. You might get a job offer from a club in Sky Bet League 2 or even Sky Bet League 1 or even the Championship. And then if you do well with that club, then you may get an offer from a Premier League club or from a club in Serie A, or one of the big European clubs. And that's a journeyman basically. So you're starting off low, you're working your way through, and my save is called Grassroots to Gold Boots. So basically you're starting grassroots, lower league, and the Gold Boots is eventually winning the Champions League with Bayern Munich. If you're good enough at the game, or with a Liverpool or Manchester City. That's what a journeyman save is. So as I say, by default, because I'm already playing, I have a save running. These are the leagues that I've got loaded. But you can change all of these. If you go to this button here, add remove leagues, then you get this, another page comes up, and you can tick any of these leagues here and have them either as a playable or just running in the background. But be aware that all of these things affect the speed of your PC. So as you can see, I've got France ticked, Germany ticked, Argentina, Brazil. They're always handy leagues to have running in the background, because if you get any Brazilian or Argentinian wonder kids, then you want to have those leagues loaded, so those players will become available for you to scout. So we're just going to click cancel on that because I have it all set up already. If we come over to this next column, so you can see there we've got the Vanarama National League North and South and above is playable. Argentinian second division and above is view only. So we don't really want that to be playable. You can change that as the game progresses. If you want to go and manage in Argentina, you can change that. But if you just keep an eye on this star rating, at the moment we're a 4-star rating. If I go into there, drop down box again, click playable, watch the star rating, it drops to 3-star. That's the speed of your machine. So you can see just by making the Argentinian second division and above playable, that basically reduces the speed of your machine. Because if you think about it, you basically, your PC, the game is working in the background and it's playing all of those games. So it basically is going to reduce the speed of your machine. So we don't want that really at this moment in time. It's good enough for us to have the Argentinian league just view only. And as you can see now, my PC speed has jumped back up to 4-star again. And you can do that with any of these. I've got the Bundesliga 2 and above. I've got that as playable. You never know. I'm with AFC filed at the moment, but if I do okay with them and get into the National League and possibly Sky Bet League 2, I might get Wolfsburg might come in for me. And having those leagues playable makes it more realistic, and you can jump straight into the game. You can jump straight into see what their results have been, how they've been playing, what tactic they've been playing with. And having these playable here is giving me a 4-star. If I made all of these view only, I'd probably jump up to 5 speed. But this is just the way I want to play the game. You play the game that you want to play. And if your PC's a little bit older, a little bit slower, you maybe want to make only the league that you're playing in playable. All the rest of them view only. Just so that when the game is ticking over, it's a little bit quicker. So if we come down to this bottom panel, there are another 8 boxes that you can tick. They're fairly self-explanatory. If you use the default, which I generally do, then do not add key staff. That kind of gives you a more realistic start. The interesting one is the disable player attribute masking. So just to explain that a little bit, when you take over a team and you start looking for new players, immediately you look at a player. By default in the game, you can't see his attributes without scouting him. So essentially, that's kind of more of a realistic look at the game. Because if you were a manager in real life, you would say to your scouts, right, I need an attacking central midfield player. Can you go out and scout me one? So if you put a tick in that box, basically, you just be able to go to any player in the world, anywhere, and see their attributes straight away. So you wouldn't need any scouts. You could just click on the player. Oh yeah, he's amazing. I mean, again, it's up to you. If that's the way you want to play the game, you might want to play that way to begin with, because essentially it is quite a complex game, and to ease yourself into the game, you might want to do that. But if you want to play it more realistic, where you've got to hire scouts, send those scouts out on assignments, and look for players for you, then you leave that box unticked. If we just go back over to this side here, the approximate player count. So again, drop down box. I've gone for the large database because obviously that gives me as a manager more players to go and scout. I think the small database is 36,000. The large database is 42,000. So it gives you another like 6,000 players around the world that you've got access to, that you can go and scout, and it widens that pool basically. Game start date, so again it's another drop down box. So if you click in there and go to England, you can see there that you can start at whatever date that you want, really. But again, to be more realistic, this is starting as we speak at the moment in 2022. It's starting early 2022-23 pre-season. So it's kind of a little bit more realistic. So if we're happy with all of that, we've set up which leagues we want to be running, we've set up the database of players, and we've done the advanced options, we can click Start Game. So now this is where your game speed will come in. This loading and saving, if you're only on a 2-star game speed, this you could go make a brew and come back and it probably still wouldn't have finished loading. Depending on your game speed will depend on how quick this loads. So on my PC is quite a high spec PC. That's to set the game up with all the database and the leagues and everything. It's taken about 30 seconds. Like I say, if you're on a higher database or a lower spec PC, you know, you could go and make a brew, come back and it still wouldn't have finished doing. So then we get to this page, is the user profile. So we're going to click new profile. If you're starting the game from brand new, then this is what you would do. So you go new profile. So we just fill this box in. It's asking for a name. I go by Gobby Gaffer. That's my in-game name. So I'll put Gobby Gaffer in there. Gender, male, nationality. You can see all of this. It's fairly self-explanatory. Favourite team. Experience level, it's quite important. Teach me about key management concepts. So inexperienced managers will be inducted into various aspects of their job. So if you tick that box, it will talk you through. There'll be a tutorial in game. So I would suggest you probably tick that box until you're familiar. Then a little bit of fun stuff. Click body. We can change various types. We can change the body type, change your height, head. We can do all sorts of bits and pieces. You can choose what attire that you're going to wear. I mean, all this is just really padding in the game. It doesn't really affect the game whatsoever. So we've got through all of that, and we now go in. We now see this screen. Choose managerial style. So we've got two sections here now: coaching badges and past playing experience. So this is quite important now. There's a little box here. If we tick that, it's saying it's going to suggest your coaching badges based on Curzon Ashton. And same over here, suggest experience based on Curzon Ashton. If we untick this side here, we can actually go to this and we can say that we have a National C licence, which is the introductory coaching qualification. By default, if we tick the box, it's giving me a National B licence, which is one above. Same with the past playing experience. If we untick that and we go into this box here, the lowest level in there is a Sunday League footballer. If we come out of it, we can tick that box, it's a Sunday League footballer. So you can see, if you were going in and you wanted to, let's say your first team you wanted to manage Bayern Munich, you wouldn't have these boxes ticked, because basically you're going to have the lowest of the coaching badges and your past playing experience would be the lowest ever. As a manager, you want to be the top that you could be. So if you were going Bayern Munich, you would untick that box and come in with a Continental Pro licence. That will give you a much better start as Bayern Munich manager. As AFC filed manager, I've gone in with the lowest of both of them, because I want it to be a bit more realistic. I don't want to be going in there, AFC filed, quite a low division club. I don't want to be going in as having really massive experience, because that's not very realistic. Same on this side here. If you were Bayern Munich, you'd come in and you would want to be an international footballer, retired at global level. So that's what those tick boxes are all about. So if we look a little bit lower, basically under the coaching badges section, we have these graduated boxes. And this is showing what you want to go in as a manager, what level you want to go in as. So the default setting is each of these boxes has a graduation. At the moment, there's only 4 highlighted in that. So as a manager and a coach, we've only got a level of 4 out of about 20. So you can see that's kind of quite realistic, going in, managing a low-level team. But we can change these. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to go in and, which I would suggest, I mean, you can do this and this gives you a fairly basic, an overall knowledge of the coaching system. But let's say you wanted to be a more attacking coach. You could reduce the defensive. You can see now that these boxes become available and clickable. So we could go more attacking. So we're now 7 out of 20 for attacking. Let's say we don't want to have anything to do with fitness or goalkeeping. We untick all of those. You can see now that these boxes, these active boxes here, are now becoming available. So we could be an attacking coach with a 7 out of 20 for attacking. But not only that, the attribute that comes with that, the tactical side, we're a 10 out of 20. So you can see I've changed that now, and you can do this to any level that you want to do. You know, if we didn't want to be any of these either, we could take those out. Working with youngsters, you know, we might have coaches in there who can do that for us. And now you can see that this has come available. So we can 7 out of 10 attacking, 16 out of 20 for tactical. So we are going at the club now, and not only are we a manager, but we can also put ourselves in as a coach who can coach the attacking side of the game and be quite amazing at the tactical side as well. If we go over to the other side, this is more of people management. Obviously, this is the past playing experience, but we can do the same with this. So, I mean, I would suggest that people management is a big one. If there's a little information button here, and if you hover over it, it tells you people management affects the ability to manage the training overall and how you interact with players on an individual basis. And that can become quite important when you're dealing with players' contracts. If they get a little bit of a grumpy on, then you can speak to them. And the more you have in that, so for instance, if we reduce all of these to 1 bar, we can now go 12 out of 20 for people management, and that gives us more ability to manage training overall and how we interact with players on an individual basis. So we're going to leave that as it is. You can have a play around with that and set it up how you want. So if we just click confirm, and then we get the introduction. Curzon Ashton, hire Gaffer. Obviously my name is Gobby Gaffer in the game. Curzon Ashton's there to confer the appointment of Gobby Gaffer as the club's new manager. Eyebrows have been raised. You always get that. The 28-year-old is sure to place plenty of questions. He's put pen to paper on a 1-year deal worth £750 a week. Tells you you've replaced. So a little bit more information now. It's telling us that we're a 1-star reputation club. The media prediction for us this season is 20th, which is not great. There's a vacancy in the director of football. We have an assistant manager, Alex Brown. We were founded in 1963. You can read all of that. Gives you the stadium capacity. There's a little bit of information in there for you to have a read at. Click next again. So we're getting little basic bits of information here now. It's kind of showing you a formation that the assistant manager is recommending, and the players that are on the books at the moment that would fit into that tactic and formation. Click next again. So this is quite important now. This is something that you really need to keep an eye on. So this is what the board require from you while you're at the club. So again, have a good read of these. Sign players under the age of 23 for the first team. Work within the wage budget. That's always a thing. Grow the club's reputation. Avoid relegation in the Vanarama North. All of these things, you can read down those as a scroll section here. All of those things the board will want you to achieve. If you don't, depending on because you see here, that's required. This is only favoured. That's preferred. The desired and required ones, you really need to be looking at those and achieving those, because if you're not, you could be out of the door quicker than you thought. Click next again. So a new thing for FM23 this year is the supporters have a say as well in that they have the kind of same thing that the board do. Their expectations have come into the game now. So this is just giving you a little bit of an indication of what the supporters want. So the next page that we get to now is basically the walk through the tutorials. All these are very self-explanatory. So the scouting induction, send today, scheduled for 2 days' time. So all these tutorials will come along at stages through the game. And then the chairman has just given you a few little indications here. Schedule a press conference to meet the media, yes or no. You can actually say no. I wouldn't suggest you do that. Yes or no. Arrange an intra-squad friendly to assess the squad when possible, yes or no. And arrange a meeting with the backroom staff and the drop-down box every week, every fortnight, every month. Again, all of those can be changed. So now you get the first opportunity to actually save the game, save your progress up to now. And this is what I was saying before about when people say I've got a Newcastle save running or whatever. So I've actually got a Newcastle save running at the moment. It was basically started at the beta stage of FM23. Again, I'll put a link to it up here if you want to have a little look at that one. There's my file save, my grassroots to goal boot save, and now we're going to create a new save for this this tutorial that we're running with Curzon Ashton. So we click save, and that will create a brand new save. So when we exit the game, turn the PC off, come back to it tomorrow, we load the game up, and then we can load either the Newcastle, the filed, or this Curzon Ashton one. So when I do more tutorials, I'll load the Curzon Ashton one, and then we'll start from where we finished last time and carry on. And I'll be imparting more words of wisdom. So this side here, this is your inbox. Basically, messages get sent to you every day. You might get more messages in one day than you can handle sometimes. Can get a little bit of a pain this side here. You end up just clicking through them. But when you first start the game, I would advise you to read them all. So the first one that's opening, Curzon Ashton hire Gaffer as manager, little bit of a thing there. We've already seen that. Tactics induction. This one is very important. So these tutorials will come along at various stages, and they will be for various things through the game. So I suggest you do them, read through them, take them. This one you have to do, because you're creating the tactic. This is where you create your tactic from. So we're going to click on create a tactic now. And if you look down this side, basically with the players that are in the squad, this is the tactic that the game is recommending that you play. So you get a little white thumbs up, wing play, route 1, park the bus. So if this was Bayern Munich, you wouldn't have route 1 or park the bus on. You would have gegenpress, you would have tiki-taka. Because you've got better players who can play that style of football, more skillful players. Because we're Curzon Ashton, the media prediction is we're going to end up very near the bottom of the league unless we do a really good job as a manager. But it's the two of the three options are route 1 and park the bus, which is kind of fairly standard for non-league football. But let's try wing play, shall we? We've also got wingers in the squad. Let's try wing play. So we click on wing play, and now we have to choose a formation. So there's a box at the bottom, choose a formation, and now it's saying, right, wing play formations. So we can now pick a formation: 4-4-2, 4-3-3 defensive midfield wide, 5-2-3 defensive midfield wide. They're giving a tick or a thumbs up on the 4-3-3. So let's just click on that, and that's actually given us a formation and a tactic. As you can see now, we've got a box-to-box midfielder in there, deep line playmaker, we've got an anchor, 2 central defenders, 2 wing-backs. Well, 1 wing-back's on attack, 1's on support. We've got a winger on support, a winger on attack, and an advanced forward. That is all preset for you. If you don't want to fiddle about with tactics, that's all done. You just have to find the players to fit that. If you've not got a box-to-box midfielder in your squad, then maybe either try and unsign one, try and retrain somebody to a box-to-box. You can change that if you want. It then becomes a wing play formation, but it'd be custom because you've changed that box-to-box to maybe an attacking central midfielder. If you've got 3 of them and no box-to-boxes, what else can you do? But anyway, so that's the way that you would do that, and all of that is now set up for you, and you just click confirm. So we now get this page comes up, and we have a bit of a blank canvas. If you come over here, you can do this yourself, because obviously if you scroll down this side here, these are all your players. So you can go through this and you can pick the players that you want. If you do quick pick, that will your assistant manager will pick your team for you. So if we do that, the assistant manager now drop the players in there that he thinks would fit that tactic and that formation. And it's a starting point. This is by no means the way that you have to go. It's a starting point. Are you following it so far? Yeah, keep going. I'm making plenty of notes. So something else that's new this year, there's various opinions on this, but it's the squad planner. So come over this side, click squad planner, and this basically then shows you position by position. So goalkeepers, we've got Renshaw and Ola Renshaw, goalkeepers. Wing backs, it shows you in each position what you've got. This one here, this button here, if you click that, that will show you the whole team, and will also show you rated first, second, third in each position. I mean, this can get a little bit complicated. We'll probably go into that a little bit more in tutorial 2. But essentially what this does is it shows you the 2 goalkeepers you've got, the star rating, how they're ranked in the club. And from this screen, in a basic way, you can see where you're a little bit light. And you maybe need to, for instance, at left wing back stroke full back, we've got Hampson, who's a 3-star, and Hayhurst, who is a 2.5-star. So you may think to yourself, well, I mean, looking at the rest of the team, it's either a 3.5, 4-star in most positions. Maybe we want a better left wing back. That's up to you. You know, you can go out, get your scouts working, see if you can find somebody who can come in there who will be better. I mean, the backup, Will Hayhurst, is only a 2.5-star. And if you click on the player, so we do, if we click on it will open up his attributes page, and it shows you what positions on the pitch he can play. So actually, he is a left winger. He can play wing back, but if you look at his marking and tackling, 7 and 8, not amazing. So he's not great as a defender, but as you can see in his physicals, he's got an acceleration of 11, pace of 10, stamina. So his physicals are for a winger, they're really good. As a defender, maybe not so much. Depends what kind of wing back you want to play with. If you want somebody who is, you know, okay, we're going to cover the defence with the 2 centre-backs and a defensive midfield player, and we're going to get that wing back just bombing up the left wing and whipping crosses over, then maybe this is the player for you. But I would like my wing back to be a little bit better on defending duties. Anyway, that's going into areas that are for another tutorial. So if we go back to the inbox, so we're working down this side now. So we'll go back to the inbox, and we're going to click the next one, supporter profile update. This tells you the makeup of your supporters. So we've got 13% hardcore, 30% core, 23% family, 12% fair weather, 4% corporate, 4% corporate Curzon Ashton. I mean, that's not bad going, is it really? And 18% casual. And then we get the board's vision again and what they require from you. And this one is actionable now. When we saw it the first time, that was giving you an indication of what they want. This is now telling you, you have to read down these and make sure that you are, you know, signing players under 23 for the first team. It's desired. Work within the wage budget is required. Be competitive in the FA Trophy, preferred. If you get knocked out early doors, not a major disaster. So you have to be careful of all of these, and we have to either negotiate and say, look, we don't really agree with that one. Early doors, I wouldn't suggest you do that because you don't want to get on the wrong side of the board. So early doors, I would just, you know, when you're a seasoned player, a football manager, then you can start negotiating with things like this. But until then, just accept the current version and away we go. Pre-season preparation, Players due to return from pre-season training tomorrow. Would be a good time for you to review your plans for them. We'll go through all that in another video, giving you an indication of injuries. So then we get the social feed. It's asking you, the personal assistant is asking you who you want to follow, whether that be players or teams or international teams. So you can have a look through that. Training schedule changes. Again, the training we'll cover in another tutorial. Weekly staff meeting. Now, I normally schedule these for about, because if you schedule them every week, then they're just coming at you all the time. So I think to begin with, you have to attend the first meeting. Thereafter, you can schedule them and then ask for the results to be sent to your inbox, which again, it's up to you. You know, I mean, let's open one. So your staff are recommending here that Sam Walker would be a great choice to fill a vacant vice captain's role. Okay, I wouldn't do that yet. I would get to know the club a little bit more, get to know the players a little bit more. You can accept the situation, move on, remind me in a week, skip to development. We're just going to move on from that one. DeMarlo needs individual free kick training. If he's going to be designated set piece taker, he's not good enough. So again, you can accept the suggestion. We're going to move on at the moment. So basically what they're doing here is the backroom staff are giving you recommendations that you can either take on board, or I'm going to move on through all of these, but these are things that you may want to say, yeah, okay then, if you're telling me my centre-back is not great at heading or is not great positionally and you want to do some more training, then yeah, accept the situation. But just for speed, I'm going to move on through all of these. So when you finish the current inbox selection, you can then click the continue button, and that basically will then take you on to the next day. So we have a game schedule today. If we go down to schedule, we can see the games that we've got. So we're basically playing Curzon Ashton today versus Curzon Ashton second 11. Again, if you want to watch that game and get an idea of how your players are fitting into your, you know, maybe some of your second 11 players look good enough to play in your first 11. So that's like a useful game. And then also in here, it's showing you all the friendlies that have been arranged. And then the Vanarama North fixture list is, so we're playing Banbury, first game of the season at home. So I'm not going to go too much more in depth today. The important things are to take away from today's video is that when you're setting the game up is the number of leagues and the database that you have loaded. That will affect the speed of your PC. So just be aware of that. If you've got an older PC, like I say, keep your database quite small, because otherwise your loading, saving, your loading will all be slowed down. The next important thing is your user profile. So you're the manager, you want to set that up how you want it set up. It's all very self-explanatory, like I've shown you with the graduation block. You could, if you want to be a defensive coach, you know, take the blocks out of the other departments, make yourself more defensive. Because one of the important things when you're setting the game up with a lower league club is when you go in, you'll probably find you've only got one coach, two coaches. You might only be allowed 4 coaches total, and that includes a goalkeeping coach, a fitness coach, and outfield coaches as well. If you can coach, that gets added to that. So you might have 4 coaches allocated, but you become a coach as well. And your assistant manager becomes a coach as well. And I mean, we'll speak about this in later videos, but the higher up the leagues you go, and you get an under-21s team, those coaches become available for the first team. So you can build your coaching. You might only have, say, an allocation of 8 coaches, but if you can use your under-21s, you, assistant manager, you're bumping up your coaching skills all the time. With Filed, I've got the best coaching team available in the Vanarama North. That's by me being very good at a specific area of coaching. And when you hire an assistant manager, you could look for somebody who, if you're good at defensive, hire one that's good at attacking. So you become 2 additional coaches. All that's very important. So that's the second thing you need to look at, the way you set your user profile up. and then obviously we come into the game. This is where it starts getting quite complex. Just run down this side here. So we've got the home screen. That basically is telling you, your contract. Again, all these buttons here, they're all actionable, telling you what your contract is, promises that you've made to players, etc. We'll go through all that again. If you click this button here, this shows you your squad. So at the moment we're on a copy of contract. I've actually added an extra column in here, which you can do by just along this line, right click, and then you can insert a column. So I've inserted their ability, which I've also added their age in as well. When you start the game from scratch, the ability and age won't be in there on copy of contract. It'll just show you their contract, the transfer value, and when it expires. But like I say, right click on there, insert a column, and then you can insert a column of your choice. So I've done that. You can have as many columns in there as you want, really. It can get a little bit cluttered if you do too many. Squad planner we've already had a look at. We'll have a further look at that one in later videos. Dynamics, this is a really important screen. We will go through this in a future video. As you can see, the basic screen here is telling me that team cohesion is abysmal, club atmosphere is good, managerial support is average. We need to work on that. Again, another tutorial video. Tactics, we've already had a quick look in there. There's lots of stuff that we can do in there. We can actually change all of this. So if we go to what we can do in possession, where you can get your wing backs overlapping, playing out of defence. All of this can all be altered and customised. Data hub, that's another tutorial on its own. The staff screen, really important. This shows you how many staff you've got. So at the moment, coaching staff, we can only have, this is what I've just been saying to you, we can only have 2 coaches at Curzon Ashton. 2 coaches. So if we have a fitness coach and a goalkeeping coach, that's it. But assuming that me and my assistant manager can coach in a couple of categories, we can beef that up a little bit. These bars here need to be hitting this top bar at the top. When you fill this up, then you've got the best coaching system available. So we need to do a little bit of work on that. This box here is a recruitment team. So you can see at the moment, we have no recruitment team whatsoever. We can have a chief scout, we can have 2 scouts, we haven't got any. So that's abysmal. And the medical team, we have 1 physio, we're allowed a head physio, but we haven't got one at the moment. So again, these bars need to be touching this top line, so we've got the best medical team in that division. I think it's going to be quite difficult because Curzon Ashton are not a very highly rated team. Training screen, again, that will be a tutorial on its own. We'll go through all of that. Medical centre tells you you've got on the injured list at the moment. Schedule, we've already had a quick look at that. This in here not only tells you what games you've got coming up and your recent scores, you can also arrange friendlies in here, which is really important as the season gets going. This is the competitions button is just telling you that we're in the Vanarama National League North, English FA Cup and the English FA Trophy. Those are the competitions that Curzon Ashton will be in. Scouting, we've no scouts at the moment, so this screen will become more important when we hire some scouts. The transfer button tells you that there's 3 buttons here. There's all, in and out. So all tells you players that you're bringing in and selling. If you want to know just the ones that are coming in, you click that button. Ones that are going out, that button. Obviously at the moment we have no scouts, we've only just joined the club, there's no transfers on the go, so again we'll look at that in a further video. Club info screen, quite interesting. Again, it tells you more about the club, when it was founded, what capacity. It's all self-explanatory in there. You know, you can, again, all of these buttons across here are active, so we can click on history and we can see on this graph where we've been. So, you know, we've come from the 8th tier, we moved up to the 7th tier, and then we've moved into the Vanarama North. And it shows you what positions we've finished in as the years have gone on. If at any time you want to know what the board are thinking about you, what their requirements were, you maybe forgot, you can come in here and have a look. Club Vision. You can also make board requests in here, which we'll go through again. I think you can see why tutorial videos are quite a necessity really for new players, because there's an awful lot to go through in the game. It took me about 12 months, if I'm honest, to get to the bottom of most of it and to be comfortable in clicking buttons and making decisions and changing things and knowing where you could change things. It took me about 12 months, if I'm honest. Finances, another very important screen. So over this side you've got your overall balance. It tells you your profit and loss per month, your income, expenditure. Transfer budget, we have none here, so I've got no money to spend whatsoever. Wage budget, I've got £4,506, of which at the moment committed spending is £3,999. So we have actually got about £500 a week to spend on players, which if we've got no transfer budget, we can bring in free transfer players or loan players that are not going to cost us anything up front, but we just have to pay their wages. Sometimes loan players, that depending on the club that they're coming from, they will actually pay the wages. I mean, you get them for free basically for the season. Again, we'll go through more of that. And your development centre is where all of your young kids, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, when you get your head of youth development, he will be out looking for players. Your scouts will be out there looking for players. This will hopefully, as your career progresses with Curzon Ashton in this case, this will fill up a little bit and you'll get more players coming in. And lastly, I mean on that note, if we just go back to squad, this is the first team squad. If you go up to filter, we're actually allowed an under 18 squad. There's no under 21s, just under 18. So if we select that and deselect the senior, basically we've got a 19-year-old. That's all we've got. So Curzon Ashton are in a bit of a sorry state, and you can see why the media prediction is 20th, probably getting relegated back into Tier 7 again. Right, well, I'm not quite sure how long I've been waffling for, but as you can see, tutorial, a little bit of a necessity really, particularly for brand new players of the game. And as the game's been released on PlayStation this year, there are a lot of new players coming into the game. I'm sure a lot of the screens and setups will be a bit different on PlayStation, but the basic principles are the same. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope this has been a little bit of an education for you and a little bit of help in just setting the game up initially. Because like I've said previously, there are a few quite important things when you're setting the game up. Don't skip them. Just spend a little bit of time in there because it will pay dividends further along. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for today. We'll be back very shortly with another tutorial, and we'll start expanding on some of the things that I've mentioned today and that I've skipped over, because as you can see, we could probably be here all week if I expanded on everything in one video and you'd all be nodding off, and we can't have that, can we? So we'll see you again very shortly with Tuition Video 2. Well, if you like your Football Manager played the Gobby Gaffer way, why not subscribe and give me a like? That means I can come back, do a lot of waffling, be a bit silly, and we're all happy. Right?